It took OT to settle this one. It was a thriller, with the Sharks coming out just short on the wrong end of a 2-1 score. They traded chances, especially in the third, but Tanner Pearson put one by Jones in OT on a 2-on-1 to end it. Yeah, that's how the Sharks, it's gone for them so far in this year. They are winless in the new year. So if the season ended today, welcome into Pucknology After Dark. We are here with all your hot takes. We are live after every single game. If you are new here, you're just checking us out for the first time, we are your only post game tonight. So hit that little red subscribe button down below, just a little bit below me here. You can't see me pointing downward, but I swear I am. If you like audio only, you can check us out. We are on SoundCloud, MySpace, iTunes, Google Play, all that good stuff. And speaking of audio, we are sponsored by audible.com. You can get a free 30-day trial that includes an audiobook that is yours to keep, whether you choose to keep the service or not. That's audibletrial.com/PAD to get your free audiobook. You help support the show, and you get a free audiobook. And unlike the Sharks, everybody wins. So with that, go right to the tank here, where we have Gentry and Eric, who were just at the game. They got a chance to witness this lovely game live. So, hey, guys, what's up? Tell us about what you saw, what you thought.
Good evening from game. That was a game? That was a debacle. Yeah, it was. By the way, good evening to you from Sutton Point.
Good evening to you from
by the time we got through.
And in typical Puck Guy fashion, we've gone AOL.
Oh, with the robot voices. No. I think, guys, maybe you'll have to check back in with you in a little bit once you're out of the building.
It's the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, blame the Wi-Fi. It's always the Wi-Fi.
No. Seriously, we left the arena and got.
And you
guys hear us now?
We left the arena.
Whatever.
And
bite me.
Okay. Yeah, we do this live. So if you want to join in on the conversation like a word in the dictionary, you can check us all out on Twitter. We are lovely people. You can follow us at Pucknology. You can follow him at AJ_Strong. You can follow me at ChrisJWS. The robot voices you just heard there were those of J Alexander 46 and Puck Guy 14. Check it out. You can also tweet at us. Tweet us your takes if you think the game is horrible, if you think we're horrible, if you loved it, whatever. Tweet at us. We love it. We, just be nice. With that, while they're hopefully into a better sell area, AJ, buddy, what do you think of this game?
I expected a little bit more. I mean, I expected a little bit more out of the Sharks, but the game was kind of pretty much what I expected. Let me just hit this really fast because this is interactive post-game. So we do, if you're in the chat room on the YouTube chat, we do interact with you. So if you have questions or comments that you want us to talk about, by all means, throw them in there. Derek Line saying, 88 sucks at defense. We're talking about a guy who has almost been handed the Norris Trophy. If you suck at defense, you're not being handed the Norris Trophy. So it's like he spends more time on his knees than he does on his feet. I get that. We're definitely not a fan of the trademark starfish defensive play, but you don't get to be, you're not the odds-on favorite to win the Norris if you suck at defense, bro.
Burns is not an all-world defender, but I mean, he makes up for it on the other end because we used to talk about the Burns taketh away. Generally, he's a lot more giveth than taketh away, and there's moments he'll have. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Dan Boyle was the same way. He had those moments where he didn't do the starfish thing, but he would look lost on defense. Sometimes it's the trade-off, right? You can all at a defense, but can't contribute anything on the other end. So, yeah, it's one of those things.
Should we try to go back to the boys at the tank?
And again, guys, are you shedded your robot voices yet?
Yeah, I think what happened was our Wi-Fi was still going as we were leaving the arena, and it caused an issue.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sorry about
Blame
that.
the Wi-Fi. Blame the Wi-Fi.
And of course, the airplane's going over us right now. With Gentry Alexander at the game, we'll let you know also, since it has happened to rain out in Sharks history, Guadalupe River is coming up pretty nicely right now. But Gentry, what did you think from tonight? The guys were talking about the defense struggles. What do you? It seemed like a lot of turnovers, especially in their own zone tonight.
Oh yeah, definitely. It seemed like Torrey Mitchell was back on the team with all these turnovers. Or it's still the holiday season for these guys because they had so many leftover turnovers. But I mean, I thought for the most part that first period was god awful. I mean, you're getting outshot. What was it? Almost 20, like
11-4
to 4 in the shot clock. That is ridiculous. I mean, they answered it back, and I thought that the Sharks got a lucky bounce with that Couture goal. Who just happened to squeak by Budai, who's right now proving that he's still an NHL caliber goaltender, or unless you're just playing the Sharks, in which case you look like a Vezina nominated goaltender. But I mean, right now it's just a porous defense that kind of led to tonight's debacle, and I thought they would have an answer back after being embarrassed on the 31st. But what do I know? I think this is what happened. This game. The irritating thing for me, and I'm not a huge Mark Edward Vlasic fan, but this game made me miss Vlasic.
This is shocking news, folks.
Yeah,
he never says that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring it back to Eric. He's gonna have more positive spins on it, but
I am. Look, they got on the board first. That's a good thing, but they had turnovers in the defensive zone. They had a really tough time getting the puck out on simple breakouts. Power play had some nice little wrinkles to it. Wasn't exactly the greatest, but they lost key faceoffs when they absolutely needed it. And so, fortunately, no dice on that. But they seemed better than what they were on Saturday night, but they definitely didn't look quite as ready on tonight. They look better, but not good enough.
Yeah, better, but not good enough. That's probably the best way to summarize it, really. I mean, to me, they looked defensively like a team that's missing one of their best defensemen and one of their other pretty good defensemen. I mean, we had Vlasic out, obviously. We also had Schlemko scratched. So we were playing with Mueller and Dylan on the bottom pair. I think that was our bottom pair tonight. Yeah, I mean, as a whole, I thought a lot of turnovers. I think that was a problem. The breakouts, they were a problem the other night, and they were a problem again tonight. Like that's the big thing with the Kings. If you can't effectively move the puck up the ice, they will keep pushing it back into your zone. They get possession, and they suffocate teams. And that's really the Sharks do the same thing to other teams too. And the Kings are one of the best teams out there at playing that style of game.
But I just wanted to say that I thought Mirko had a really good game tonight. I thought he drew 2 penalties and he looked pretty solid with the occasional turnover here and there, but that was the entire defense tonight in general. But I thought he had a really solid game. Do I want to see him back with the Sharks next game? No. But I think that his time spent with the Barracuda and all that is doing good for his game. So I like this improvement. I want to see him grow, and who knows? Maybe he won't be the next Super Trekkie in my book.
No, like Mirko did look a little bit better, but again, good, but not quite good. Whoa.
We're getting hit with winds.
Yeah, you guys, the audio is a little bit not so great. Real quick before we
let you go.
Yeah, before we let you go though, how was the tank full up tonight, or how was the vibe there?
Well, let's put it this way: we were delayed because of the rain and the traffic, but nonetheless, it was a pretty good crowd once everybody got settled in and their foods and such. But it was a pretty solid crowd. Once everybody filled in, it looked sold out to me.
Did they announce a sellout tonight? I didn't see the number on.
Yeah, it was sold out as 17,562.
Okay, that's good to hear. At least for the Kings, you would hope they could pack the building. All right, guys, thanks for checking in.
Please, and if you're outside here, please drive safe. It is crazy out here.
I know that's impossible for you Californians because when there's water that falls from the sky, you tend to freak out, like them not having any coffee at Starbucks. But please, drive safely. And don't drive like a D-bag and use your goddamn blinkers. Signing off.
All
Good
right,
night, guys.
peace out, guys. All right, so I think we've touched on at least a little bit as far as the defense goes. That was one aspect of it. Do you want me to tee your drum up for you? Are you ready? You want me to just lob the
softball
How did they
my way?
do on special teams tonight, AJ? You want to?
Well,
tell us
first
about
off,
that?
let's address what they talked about with Mirko Mueller. Obviously, we have two big pieces, Vlasic and Schlemko being out tonight. While Mirko Mueller did get the call up, which did surprise some people, including me. I would have thought maybe Heed. There was another name that was bandied about earlier. I wish I could remember what it was. I'm sure maybe somebody in the chat might know. But that being said, Mirko only got 12 minutes tonight. If you look at it, DeMello got 18, Dylan got 19, Braun got 19. The other guys, 23 and more. So Mueller was, he was slowly brought in. Let's be honest, if that was Schlemko or whatever, I mean, he's eating up a lot of those extra minutes that Burns and Martin had to play tonight. For my special teams drum, yeah, of course I'm going to beat it because Kings power play went 1 for 3 and the Sharks went 0 for 3. If the Sharks score on one of their power plays or if they kill off the Kings power play, they win this game in regulation. So, Of course, I'm going to beat that. You're not doing yourself any favors when you're letting 35 pucks get to Martin Jones.
Responding to a few things in the chat here regarding the defense, Dr. Jackal, our good friend Jen, next point out that Mirko really should be a regular 5'6" by now, but
he should be.
He's not been really handled that well, and I tend to agree with the sentiment tonight. He wasn't bad at all, but that's I would hope to.
When you consider,
I'd want to pay him a bigger compliment than that, considering he's the first round pick 3 years ago.
Yeah, when you consider where he was taken, what was expected of him, it is yet another bust. It's another, unless he comes along.
I don't know if I call
and
it busty, but he's bordering on that on that territory, I think.
Well, I'm a little quicker to jump on the bust wagon than other people are. I was calling Mueller a bust last year. I just don't.
You're
think
doing it before it was cool, AJ.
I was busting Mueller before it was cool. He's just. I was so hoping because just based on odds, you would think when you look at whether it's Wissert, Petrecki, Doherty, like you would think at one point one of these top 4 round picks on defense is going to pan through, especially when it's a high pick like Mueller was. You would think eventually you can keep betting on red. At some point it's going to, they're going to spin the little ball. Now the odds are even every time. But at some point, the ball will eventually land on red. And you were hoping that at least I was going to. So I guess the next one is Jeremy Waugh is the one that we're all hoping for. However, no.
He's supposed to be the truth. Not quite Timo time, but.
Yeah, and we all know that it takes longer for defensemen to develop. But either way, yeah. No, I'm calling it. I can't see. Once we get Vlasic from what I understand, he should not be out very long. And Schlemko is like upper body injury, lower body, whatever. It's something,
I think he's probably had a nagging injury of some sort because it just seems like he's been scratched a lot lately.
Yeah. But the Sharks have 2 more games here at the tank, and then they go on a quick little Western Canada road trip, back-to-backs at Edmonton and Calgary next week. It wouldn't surprise me if Vlasic makes that trip and potentially plays in both of those games. He didn't lose any chicklets when he took the puck. It just looks like, doesn't look the best.
So
but
I believe they sent him to injured reserve, actually. They sent him to injured reserve, and I'm not sure that the first day is eligible to be back. I don't know if he's going to be eligible to be back on that road trip or not. the date, but they actually formally put him on an injured reserve.
Well, I would hope that Schlemko is his body injury, whatever it is, happens. It wouldn't surprise me if they give Mueller another look based on the fact that he did in fact draw 2 penalties tonight. So for a guy that only spent 12 minutes on the ice, you can at least give him that. Now let's talk about maybe you see Heed. Maybe they give Heed a look on the last game versus Detroit before they leave. I think that all depends on how Mueller's game is on Thursday against Minnesota.
I think it also depends on if Schlemko's back too, because if they're, I don't think they're going to throw a guy into his first game already thin on the blue line. Like if you're just missing Vlasic, maybe have him in as the sixth guy. But right now, I think they're probably in a position where the blue line is thin enough with a couple injuries. And it was funny, someone in the chat was saying, well, if Vlasic goes down and they can't play defense, they're screwed. Like most teams, you take away their number one defenseman, they're going to have issues.
Yeah, no, I'm only saying
the first game or two.
I'm only saying that if Schlemko is not ready for the next game, that's all.
Yeah.
But let's beat on the other drum. My favorite pinata, Bodker. Let's beat that pinata to death, shall we? In the third period, Bodker got a shift I believe it was in the opening 3 minutes, and then went 12 minutes without a shift. Now, I can understand you shortening your bench if you're down a goal, down 2 goals. He got the Sharks were up, and Bodker still was not seeing any ice. And he only played 2 shifts in the third period. Meanwhile, Carlson got 4, and of course, Haley got 0. He got 0, but that's almost expected. But let me ask you this. If Wingles is playing over Haley, do you think Wingles gets a shift in the third? Because I think he does.
I think yes. I mean, I think that's part of it too, is because when you're shortening the bench, you can either try and play a little mix and match with the lines, or you're just going to take one line off almost entirely. And I think that's part of the thing. And Bodker's already down there, and I think he's a little less apt to mix and match him into the other combinations because he hasn't played that well. So I don't know if it's more of an indictment of Bodker or just like he just felt wholesale he couldn't play that line. So,
well, and Tyler Dunn saying
not, then
Carlson's a better forechecker than Bodker. And you know what? Yeah. Hey, stick tap to fucking Carlson tonight, dude. You barely healed that man. That was just I mean, fantastic pass from Don Scoy from the boards, and I mean, you just mistimed it by that much. God love you, man. That really would have been huge. I would have loved to have seen that. But hold on, what's this? AJ, don't beat him to death. We need Vegas to make Bodker a Golden Knight. Abso-fucking-lutely we do.
And no, they're taking one of our defensemen.
Yeah, they're gonna take a defenseman. But Bodker, like, I mean, if you listen to this show, if you listen to our audio only, the Pucknologist, I wasn't a big fan of Bodker. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Bodker early on. I haven't been since, and I've been one of the early guys to like jump on and saying this is a bust. This was a bad pick. And there's a couple other people that have said, hey, give him a little more. It's like, hey, we're not even a quarter of the way into the season. Give it some time. Okay, I'll give it then I said, dude, I'm telling you, Bodker, this guy is just not working here. Oh, we're not even a third of the way into the season. Well, you know what? In like 3 games, we're going to be halfway through the season. The dude is a bust. Whether he can't find chemistry with these guys, whether he can't skate under DeBoer's system. I mean, it took Thornton a few weeks or a couple months last season to figure it out, although Thornton was dealing with a concussion as well, but Thornton figured it out. Clearly, Thornton a much better, bigger player than Bodker, so let's put that narrative out the window. But like when you look at the fact that Hurdle at this point, who has played 21 less games than Bodker, still has more points. Bodker is a fucking bust.
Wow. Yeah, that kind of says all. I think based on his history as a player, I think there's a good chance he ticks up in the second half of the season. Like he wasn't just bad, he was just historically bad, really. Like he's had like one of the roughest half seasons of his career, and you'd think that he could do better. I think Ian said it though when he doesn't. I think Ian's inclination as Mr. Hockey and as someone who watches way more hockey than all of us combined probably is that Bodker just was never a great pick for the Sharks system. Really great forechecker, not a great defender. He's got speed, which the Sharks definitely need, but it's also got to be the right fit. And it seems like I think he could probably succeed in another place, but I think for what the Sharks are and their personality this year has shifted even more to the defensive aspect, right? Like last year, they were a lot more prolific offensively. This year, they've really embraced that we're going to play these 2-1, these 3-2, these 1-1, going into OT games. Like they defensively, and he doesn't seem to be a good fit in that personality as they morph into that team.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Bodker would. Maybe they need to put Bodker out there when they go to OT. Maybe that start him on the overtime. When it's 3-on-3,
You
when
mean
it's wide open and use his
keep away
speed.
period?
Yeah, when it's wide open.
You mean the keep away period? Because it's essentially
when
like whenever we play OT now, we just play keep away with the puck, like try and hold it away from them as long as we can.
Love you, Gen X Bodker. Forecheck, paycheck, to hell with the back check. I love that. I mean,
ouch.
But seriously, do you really think that Bodker at this point? I mean, when you look at the points that Bodker has, if Nieto had played the same amount of games that Bodker has, it wouldn't surprise me if Nieto had the same amount of points. And it's like,
yeah, I mean, it seems like in a lot of ways he is Nieto,
yep,
except for not as good as Nieto, and
not from Long Beach.
From Long Beach, I mean, come on, bro.
Not from Long Beach.
I mean, like Nieto was better forechecker. Nieto was a better penalty killer. Oh, has Bodker even seen any shorthanded ice time? Let me look at the minutes here. I don't think he has really seen much time on ice.
No,
in shorthanded situations.
Actually, no, that's not true. Tonight he saw 38 seconds. So
a whole 38 seconds.
Yeah. So hey, I mean, we've seen goals scored in lower amount of time. My point is, Nieto is riding the pine. He hasn't seen a game since Ottawa. Okay, the Ottawa game was like 3 weeks ago tomorrow. Okay. Nieto hasn't seen a game in 3 weeks. We've seen Ward scratched a couple times over that time period. We've seen Wingles scratched for, I think this is his 5th or 6th consecutive game that Wingles has scratched. Why the hell is Bodker not being a healthy scratch at this point?
And something to point out in the chat, and this is true, he has had he's been snake bitten as hell too. Like he's had his moments too, where he's had great chances, and like puck bounces or goalie makes miraculous saves. So that's part of it too. I think he's had shit luck, but he hasn't seemed like a good fit. So going from him to a trending up, Joel Ward, I don't know what you've thought of him the last game or two he's been in there, but I saw, especially on the top power play unit, but other than that, I've seen Joel Ward, he's started look like last year a little bit more, not as prolific scoring, but actually contributing and helping move the puck around the zone rather than be just kind of a slow,
pylon?
Kind of useless pylon. Yeah.
Yeah. No. That's the whole thing. Is I think the scratch got under Ward's skin a little bit, so we're starting to see a little bit more from him, and hopefully we see him. See, this is the other thing too. Is PDB will get that line blender going, and it's hard to get chemistry going when the bottom six keep being interchanged. It's hard to find that chemistry, but at least Ward is starting to step up. Bodker needs to be shown the press box for a couple games. I don't give a flying fuck that he's been snake bitten. Maybe seeing the press box will help him suck out the poison at this point. We just need to see something else. Bodker needs to see the game from up high, figure out what he's doing. I will
see it from on high, have a vision from on high or something.
See it from on high. I will say though about tonight, there was a sweet entrance into the offensive zone tonight where Bodker was basically going over the blue line, skating backwards, and dished it off on a backhand dish over to Couture. And it was a really sweet entrance, and it got them some good offensive zone time. The entrance was sweet. But I mean, like I said, Hurdle has played 20 less games and still has more points. That
Yep.
he needs to be he needs to watch it from the press box for a couple of games, especially when guys get healthy. And I mean, imagine what happens when everybody is healthy, when Hurdle's back. And I mean, there's just
Someday.
I don't feel like there's going to be a spot for Bodker. I honestly, I really hope that they're able to figure out a way to trade the fucking guy. You know, he doesn't have the. He's got a decent contract, 3 more years, not a whole hell of a lot of money. It's a hell of a lot of money when you consider what his production is right now. But maybe there's a team out there that is looking at him and saying, "Oh, San Jose isn't using him correctly," or whatever, and they're able to take him out. But just
Yeah, I think there's a good number of teams that will look at what historically he's done and be like, it probably is more the fit than it is he just fell off a cliff, because he's not the age where they fall off a cliff. St. Owen saying in the chat, you know, fourth line can't be counted on to play any minutes in the third period. New fourth line needs put together. Yes and no on
yeah,
most
the fourth
teams.
line got a
really,
lot of minutes last year.
yes and no, because on most teams, though, in a tight game, the fourth line is going to get considerably less shifts or very few. I mean, part of it's Michael Haley, like, and to tie in with the comments about Ward, I don't think you can justify scratching Ward over Haley anymore. Like, I think at this point, Ward, you know, said I think he took like 5 or something shifts in the third period. He's playing well enough now. He can be trusted to play shorthanded, up a man. He can be trusted to play third period minutes, and that's important. And Haley can't really be trusted with any of those things, and that's why, like, I'm not trying to shit on Haley, because he's been better than some of the goons we brought.
Well, the funny thing that you mentioned,
but
Ward got the most shifts out of everybody in the third period at 12.
okay,
you know,
actually more than I thought. Then, yeah,
yeah. So it's really funny. A couple of comments. Hackle saying, if Donskoy gets scratched, then Bodker needs to be scratched. Couldn't agree with you more, brother. Could not agree with you more. And Nick Neftepet saying, it seems like Bodker would do better under the Oilers' fast-paced system. You know what? Totally agree with you. I think Bodker would do well up there. What can we get? Is there a guy named Connor up there that maybe they'll trade him for?
yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah, but I think he would make more sense in a faster paced, less defensively oriented team, because the Sharks, especially this year, way more than last year, they are a defensive minded team, and he's not a good fit for that. And
yeah.
It is odd, because I know they want to get faster in the off season, but it seems like they've actually gone the other way and tried to get a little slower. They've gotten younger, but they haven't really gotten faster as much. They've playing even more King style hockey. Actually, I think they look more like the Kings than they ever have, really.
Yeah, a little bit.
Playing that heavy possession style game where it's like, we're going to hog the puck and just wear you down. And the Kings are still better at that than the Sharks are.
Yeah, and our buddy Gen X pointing out, the top 6 gets you in, but the bottom 6 gets you wins. And yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, I think if you look back to last season, the bottom 6, once that second half kicked in, that was one of the most solidified bottom 6s the Sharks have had in quite some time. And I think the Hurdle injury has kind of thrown everything into a little bit of disarray.
Nick Neftap is in the chat. I'll let Team talk less shit about him if he trades McDavid for Bodker. Like, you do that.
Yeah.
Like, T-Mac, we'll talk a little less. Actually, no, we've generally been very pro T-Mac, although I think in retrospect now, I think we've kind of agreed that looks like that change was, I mean, at the time, I think a lot of us were like, why let McCullen go? But it seems to make a lot more sense now.
I think it was time.
Yeah, I think you're right though. Depth wise, you need to have a bottom 6, or at least you have to have at least 3 lines, and you can get away with 3.5, sometimes even 3. But yeah, you need at least 3 lines. Like, there's not a 2-line league at all. You need to have at least three lines that you can put out there constantly. And I think they do. And I think when they get healthy, they're going to be a lot closer to being able to roll four. Like when Hurdle comes back, I think will be good. Something mentioned in the chat here, LeBanc probably was one of the worst games I think we've seen from him since he's been up. I figure he is a rookie and he was going to have those moments, right? Like it's, I mean, who comes up to the league and never has that moment where like, okay, need to work on a few things, watch the film, get better. I look at the film, I won't win us. Oh, sorry, I went sorry, Gen X. Obligatory football reference.
Well, I think another thing that you could also touch on too is the fact that this season, I think there was a lot of guys that I think we all expected a little bit more from, especially after last year. Jonas Donskoy comes to mind. I think we definitely expected to see more from him this season. Couture, I mean, he's got some points here and there. I think we'd probably expect a little bit more, but especially the way that he's just been just horrible in the face-off circle. Tonight, he's the only guy who was under 50%. Now, let me put that in perspective. Anze Kopitar was 38% tonight. So let me give that a little bit of perspective. But still, I think we expect a little more from Couture. We expected, it's the what's that stupid cliche where it's like, you expect your big players to play big, and it's like, what?
Yeah, biggest stars got to shine the brightest, all that general kind of shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Pavelski for the most part, I think has been the Pavelski we expected. Thornton, I think we expected a little bit more from him, but I mean, you're talking about an older guy. Short summer, played in the tourney. Maybe that wasn't the best decision on his part. Thornton, I think this is the first season where we're seeing his age.
And also, he did start slow last year as well. So, I mean, I don't expect him to like go on the insane pace like last year. He went from like, I think he had actually very similar numbers after the same amount of games, but he went on such a tear to the point where he got himself up to 81 points in 82 games, which I don't expect him to do that again because that's crazy. But if he can get to averaging, 0.8 to a point per game in the second half of the season, I think that'll be just fine because that'll get him up around 65, 70 points. And if he can get that production going, that's good.
Yeah, well, and I don't have a problem with that if Donskoy and Ward start bringing up their points the way that we were used to. I mean, right now, there's really nothing that you can't love about LeBanc right now. The kid has been called up, and he is producing. Meyer is, it's a little bit of a slow start, but I like what I'm seeing from the guy. He's got a nasty streak about him that is a little bit, kind of reminds me a little Ryan Clough a little bit. There's something about him that I really like. So
he shoots the puck. That's what I really like.
Yeah, I mean,
correction. Joe got 82 points last year. Thank you, Slushy.
Okay. So Jackal asking if Thornton's concussed again this year. I don't think so. Maybe does he have a chomp cushion? No,
a chomp question. No, dude, we agreed. Chomp stays in 2016 with all the other terrible shit from 2016.
There you go.
Sorry, Eric.
Oh, and Damage Incorporated saying he's like Meyer is like Clough but with speed. I like that. Clough doesn't actually, or Timo Meyer doesn't actually have to play the puck from the bench. I like that. He has speed.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at points totals, I mean, it feels like, this year, like Brent Burns really arrived last year, but this year, I think it's more and more his team. He's leading the team with 35 points in 38 games. He's kind of taking the mantle from Thornton. I think Pavelski's still he's still the captain, but I think as terms of being the most prolific scorer on the team, it seems like Burns has kind of taken that from Joe Thornton, and he's now the guy everything really runs through.
Not only that, I mean, face of the franchise right now, but of course, an 8 years at $64 million is going to do that. So
Yeah, he's also probably got the biggest personality we've ever seen on a Sharks superstar. Like Marlowe at his best, I don't know if you call him a superstar. As close as he's gotten to that, he's Mr. Milk Toast. Thornton has a little bit of that wry personality to him, but it's not
yeah,
the kind of
buddy.
like
Yeah, buddy.
larger than life kind of personality. Like Burns is truly larger than life. Like, you saw the commercial that he did, the Pepsi commercial, which if you haven't seen that, look up. Like, it was like, was it Subway and Pepsi or whatever it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
where he's inside the machine. But yeah, if you're listening and you haven't heard that, seen that, look it up. It is fantastic. It's like 2 straight minutes of Brent Burns awesomeness. But we haven't had that superstar on the Sharks ever that's got that huge personality, that's got that larger than life, like people around the league know him. They don't just know his name, like, oh, he's a good player. They know, like, the crazy, wearing Chewbacca masks at the All-Star game and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a little bit of a, I don't know. I mean, maybe you want to say kind of like the defensive Ovechkin, that he's a bit of a show off kind of guy in certain moments. And I'll take that. I think that's something that hockey needs because he does it in the right way. I don't know how to
Yeah,
really kind of,
he's not like, I mean, I'm sure there's some people who hate him and like are gonna screw him. Like probably, I'm sure there's always a few people like that, the Adam Oates of the world. But I think a lot of people like him just because he's not like going out there and trying to show guys up. He's out there kind of, he's a little bit crazy and it's fun, and I think people connect that and appreciate it. And it's good for the Sharks too, because it's gonna get their name and their brand out there more. Because so like the stars they've had at best have had a little personality, but never really had that just, I don't know, trying to think of a good equivalent in another sport, like I don't know, Albert Pujols or Barry Bonds, where it's like you didn't just know their production, you knew their personalities.
well,
Now,
no, who he reminds me of? He's kind of like the Hunter Pence for the Sharks.
yeah, actually, that's perfect. Yes, I would say he's better overall player, respective his position, but yeah, that's probably the closest
Yeah, he's just, like always kind of up, positive, ready to go, but has a, just a fun personality. I love
from the
that about
chat.
him.
Danny fucking Healy, beast on wheels.
No, I'm good. I can't wait to see what Burns comes up with at the All-Star game this year. For those of you who don't know, it did come out earlier that somehow Connor McDavid won the fan vote to be the Pacific Division captain for the NHL All-Star team. I thought that was too funny, but barely edging out Brent Burns. Yeah, okay. Connor McJesus, of course, is going to get the vote.
Yeah.
Sure, fine, whatever. It's a fucking exhibition game, and let's be honest, no one's excited about the All-Star game this year. And why aren't they all, excited about it? Because there's no John Scott story to see. That John Scott. You ask a lot of NHL fans 10 years from now, you're going to say, "Do you remember the All-Star game in Nashville?" And they're going to be like, "Oh my God, that was the John Scott thing, right?" And all that, and people, yeah. And you're going to say, "Oh, do you remember the one in L.A. the next year?" And they're going to be like,
Nope.
"There was one in L.A." Yeah, nobody cares about it this season. So it goes to show that the NHL, they almost like the NHL's botching of the whole John Scott thing last year. Actually, I think benefited the NHL in a weird way. And this year, I just don't know anybody who's interested in it. But when
I think though they couldn't really reproduce that, because
I'm not saying
happened. That
reproduce
happened
it.
organically. Oh no, I'm not. Oh, I mean, like, even if they wanted to get that again, I don't think they could, because that was kind of just the came together. It was, it started out as people trolling the NHL and turned into just its own. It took on a life of its own, and that's what made it so cool. Because I think even if the NHL wanted that to be possible again, I don't think you could really reproduce it again, because it's so. It just happened. Like, it wasn't. It was not a contrived. Down in the chat, Mike Nevis is McDavid 316.
You know what? I mean,
I
yeah,
don't
okay,
know.
he's
Yeah.
kicking ass. Yeah, give it to him. He's kicking ass on maybe not the best team, but they're doing good, doing well. They're coming
They're at least in
along.
contention this year because as
Yeah.
opposed to all the other years of the Oilers, like, oh, they're putting up all kinds of great offensive numbers at times, but they're complete shit. And like
Well,
at least they're in contention right now. We'll see how they
and
are in another 2 months.
I was going to say, and as I've stated for like I don't know the last few years, you would hope that a team would be in contention when they've had the number one draft pick 17 out of the last 20 years. You would hope they'd be able to put that together. But I look forward to Burns coming up with something at the All-Star game. I look forward to Burns being the face of NHL 18. That's what I look forward to. I
Oh, that would
think
be fantastic.
I think he needs to be the face, and he wins that Norris. I don't think there's any way you can't make him the face. I think that would be fantastic. We should probably get back to this game though and kind of wrap up what we saw. I mean,
Real quick on the overturn goal, what was your thought? My thought was it was the right call.
it was absolutely the right call, and Mike Milbury is a fucking idiot. I don't know if you listened to the intermission. I typically don't. I typically
Nope.
use that time to go get a beer, take a leak, maybe check Twitter or something. I typically do not give a damn as to what Mike Milbury says because he gets it wrong so often. He is like the Skip Bayless of NHL hockey a lot of the times.
Harsh.
But I'm watching the game and I was outside on the patio having a cigarette, as I do from time to time. And when I came back in, my wife goes, "Rewind this. You're not going to believe it." I said, "What's that?" And so I rewind it.
Oh.
And Mike Milbury literally says that he said the guy, they should have given it to him because he, quote unquote, earned it. He earned that goal. What was he supposed to do with his hands? Chop them off or whatever? And it's like,
Yeah.
asshole. The rule says if it goes off the hand, which it clearly did, basically, it's not a goal. And what was even funnier
Intention
is that
does
you
not
could
matter.
hear, yeah, and you could even hear that Jim Fox, the guy who was doing color tonight with Randy Hahn, Jim Fox, even when they came back from the intermission, Jim Fox was kind of saying, that would have been nice if it was goal. He was kind of homering it up and biasing a little bit because he is the color guy from the LA Kings. And Randy had to kind of step in and say, this is the rule, and read it down. And Jim Fox acquiesced and said, yes, that is the rule, and so it was the right call. But yeah, no, Mike Milbury is holy crap. What I mean, just he earned it. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Earned it. That's
You know what? Do you know how many
it's the
goals?
dumbest thing.
Do you know how many goals Mikhail Bodker earned this season but didn't get?
2 more, maybe.
Yeah, probably two.
Not
but
that
still,
many.
but still. Anyway, and you know what? And this is there's actually, it's so funny, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Chris, but I remember 5, 6, 7 years ago when you started seeing more games on a national scale, and I don't know if it was kind of like the transition from what was it, outdoor
It was
network
Versus,
to Versus to NBC,
yeah.
ESN, but I remember when they would come out with the schedule, and I'd get pissed when I would see like there would be 2 Sharks games on the schedule that were national games, and both of them would always be at the opposition. It would be like at Chicago and at LA, or it would be something like that. Like those are the only ways the Sharks are getting it. And now, of course, and especially this season because they are the reigning Western Conference champions, I used to get pissed that they didn't get national games, and now I get pissed off even more than I used to when there are national games because it's either one, they don't get the game off in time, which we all have heard Landy just drone on and on about. But the other thing is, I don't know, just some of the guys that they bring in to at least Randy gets, at least we still get Randy. At least there's that. But man, some of the guys that they bring in, you just go, whew.
Randy usually calls it straight down the middle.
He does, and I've heard.
Tonight
I
wasn't
remember
that
a couple
bad,
times.
actually.
No, it wasn't too bad. Jim Fox, funnily enough, I do think he does a. I don't want to say a reasonable facsimile, but a marginal facsimile of Drew Remenda. He has a
Yes.
similar
Yes.
cadence. Yeah, there's a cadence to
Actually,
it.
yeah, I was thinking that tonight. I was like, it sounds a little like Drew,
Yeah,
just in the way it kind of interacted with him.
yeah, there's a little bit of that going on. That cadence he has, it did remind me of Remenda a little bit, but I don't know. I remember there being a game, I think in like 2013, somewhere in there, where Randy and Drew actually flew down to like call like an Anaheim Arizona game or something that was national or whatever. Like these were the two closest guys, but they're at the upper echelon of their career. I mean, what Randy,
Yep.
we're kind of blessed to have Randy Hahn, and so good on him. And I watched the game and I listened to it, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, they're calling a great fucking game.
Yep.
Like they are just uber fucking talented at what they do, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see Randy call a lot, more and more national games. I hope to God NBC doesn't come along, with a fucking truckload of money and say, "Hey, that dumbass that says waffle board every 5 seconds? We're gonna fucking kick his ass out the door, and we want to bring in Randy."
So I remember, and also when Drew is here, and we'll not get into the bring back Drew thing. That's a whole nother discussion. But when it was Randy and Drew, I remember it was quite often they would have them, rather than do a mashup of multiple teams, they'd have them call the national game, or even there was a couple times where they called Anaheim, LA, like.
Yeah,
And I know LA fans hated that, but it's like these guys are pretty straight shooters. They're Drew is just Mr. Passionate about hockey. Hedekin made an awkward third wheel at times tonight, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. The one I can't stand is when they have what's his name, Olchuk from Chicago.
yeah,
Cannot stand him because he openly, even on national broadcast, he's openly rude for his team. It's like, okay, dude, just have some objectivity. Don't you don't have to like be unbiased, because of course you're biased, but have just cheer like Kane every year, like, oh, shut up already. But
Hold on.
as a whole, I liked it tonight. I thought it was pretty good.
It was pretty decent. This is the
Brett
second
Hedican
time
was
we've
kind
had
of
them.
awkward timing.
Yeah, a couple times, and this is the second time we've had Randy and Jim Fox this year. A couple funny notes on the chat. Mike Neves, hating Randy gets you express tickets to hell, where you're forced to watch Bodker Sharks highlights forever. I like that. But
Wait,
Gen
how
X,
can you watch it forever? I mean, that's like
yeah,
means
there's
it would be like a 2-minute reel, like
yeah,
on. I guess
but
that
it's
would
on
be
loop.
torture, yeah.
Yeah, it's on loop. But Gen X pointing out that that it's basically the closest West Coast Comcast team, which of course NBCSN is the ugly stepchild to Comcast. So yeah, no, it makes sense because LA and Anaheim are Fox. So it's the Peacock basically throwing down these paychecks for all these guys. So it makes sense. It's fine. I do kind of miss Fox Sports Bay Area. They definitely had a better
That
theme song.
was like 10 plus years ago, wasn't it? It's been a while.
It's it's
It's been
definitely
Comcast since at least '06, I think, at least.
yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
maybe you know what, might have changed kind of close to the lockout right around there. I don't know, Gen X.
Any
You seem
other
to know everything about that.
Dr. Jackal? He seems to know all these things. He's talking about the contracts in the chat there. I guess there's probably some technicalities that probably work in Randy's favor and all, since I said it's Comcast and it's Comcast that might make it easier. Who knows? Any other game topics we really want to hit on here? Because I think we've pretty well gone over most of the aspects. I don't know if there's anything else that stood out to you tonight.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, just looking at the stats. I mean, it was even. I mean, you really can't. There was one the first interference call on Burns, I thought was a pretty.
That was a weak call.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty weak call, especially when you look at what the refs were letting go prior to that. But at the end of the day, both teams got 3 power plays, and one of them converted one of them, and the other team didn't convert any of them. So that was a difference maker tonight. So with that, I mean, what's the record
on?
against LA? I mean, they won the home opener against LA. I thought they won the second
2 and
game.
2.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
they
they're 2
won
and
the
2.
first game, or 2-1-1, since you get the loser point tonight.
Yeah, so you do get the so you still get the winning record. And is this the year that we face LA 4 times or 5 times? I always forget that.
Five. We face them one more time on January 18th, and then
Okay.
that's it for the year.
Yeah.
So
God
and
damn, it's fucking
enjoy it
great,
now
man. Yeah,
because
I can't wait to see how the Pacific Division shakes out when the Las Vegas placeholders join the league next year. Figure out how
I
many.
mean, so how about this for the schedule? I know the schedule is kind of a product of availability and all that lovely stuff, but we end the year with Vancouver twice as well as Edmonton and the Flames twice. It's like I like when we would open up against the Kings and we close against the Kings and sprinkle it in a few times because it's a great rivalry. Why are you crowding it all into like like three of them right here in a 3 week period? We have one in November. Could skip one in November. I mean, I know building availability. That's really what it comes down to. But
That's part of
you'd think
it,
they'd
but
try to spread it around a little bit better.
I no, I totally agree with you. The fact that I mean, this year seemed especially quirky. That I mean, I understand we play every team outside our division once away, once at home. Just I thought it was just kind of quirky how like we played both games against Ottawa within a week of each other. It was like host Ottawa a week later at Ottawa, and then boom, that's over. And there was something else where that happened where it was like host the Islanders and then go play the Islanders, something along those lines. But no, the final 6 games are hysterical. At Edmonton, at Calgary, at Vancouver, then Vancouver, host Edmonton, host Calgary. I think the final 6 games are hysterical, and when you consider what a fucking tire fire Vancouver is, I think that is kind of funny. But you know what? Look at the way that Edmonton and Calgary are battling right now. Those final 4 games might be kind of tough. That you know, it you don't know where we could be.
May-
We're not even we're almost at the halfway point. Anaheim is trying to make a bid. I don't think the Kings are going to make it back, even if Quick is back by I don't know what are they. I think they're saying now it's probably around beginning of March, if that. So, and Kopitar
Yeah.
is having a horrible season this year. So,
Yeah, I think the Kings will get back into contention because I mean they still have enough talent there. I just don't think they're going to be anything better than a one and done. I think they're going to be very similar to last year if they make the playoffs. I don't know if Edmonton stays in contention. Those last couple games could be interesting. I think Calgary is going to be pretty well out of it by that point.
no, they're still my dark
Vancouver is
horse,
a
brother.
tire. It's a tire. Yeah, you and Calgary, Eric and the Wild. And speaking of the Wild, a little transition here, pivot to the next game. We play the Minnesota Wild on the 5th. I'm trying to find it. Like, okay, yeah, on the 5th. That is a home game against the Minnesota Christmas Trees. And that is actually going to be our 2-year anniversary of our first ever live broadcast on here.
Holy crap.
So yeah, bring us like presents and we'll have a party and stuff.
Buttons for everybody.
Buttons for all. You get a button. You get a button. I don't know. Yeah, Gen X, you can have 2 if you really want to. Just talk to Eric about it. So we play the Minnesota Christmas Trees. I think they've cooled off. If I pull up the standings here, hot at one point. You know them in Columbus. They are currently, if I can bro these standings fast enough here. Sorry. Yeah, we're doing this live.
Buttons? Buttons? Did someone say buttons?
Button. Who's got the button? So they just lost against Columbus, oddly enough. So, but they are 9-1-0 in their last 10. So, I would still describe them as red hot because it was a case of them playing against the unstoppable force, the immovable object, all that lovely stuff. So, hey, Minnesota, they're no joke. They have a plus 37 goal differential in 36 games. Damn, yeah. So it's going to be interesting. But, I mean, they beat Columbus twice. They shut down who was it that they shut down the other day? I'm like
yeah, but you know what?
Everything right now.
See that, but then again, we're talking about the Sharks, and the Sharks tend to beat teams they have no business beating. How much did we talk about the Carey Price, greatest goaltender in the world, Not only did the Sharks beat Montreal twice, they chased Carey Price out of the net in one of those games. And yet another quirk in the schedule where they faced the Canadians like twice within a 10-day stretch. So always quirky there. So I think the Sharks will. I think they're going to be a little pissed from these two LA games. I think DeBoer is going to be really pissed. And hopefully we get Schlemko back and that maybe balances out the back end a little bit better. And hopefully Botker is watching his first game from the press box versus Minnesota and we see maybe Wingles get back into the lineup or something.
Yeah, you figure scratch him for Wingles. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Honestly, if anything, I would actually rather scratch Haley, all things considered, because I think Bodker, for how not useful he is, I think he's still more useful than Haley, because that's, again, I'm not trying to shit on Haley, but he's very limited in what he can do and what he can be trusted with. That's a discussion for another show. We don't need to get into that whole thing.
I think my point though with that is Haley is you're getting value for your dollar. Bodker, you're not getting value at any way, shape, or form for your dollar.
But
You
really,
know
when
what
you're
getting with
looking
Haley.
when you're looking at the final score, you're not worried about how much that final score cost you. You're worried about did
Yeah.
you get the most total contributions. And I think Bodker, for all he struggle, he still contributes more than Haley does, and he can be, you can put him out there in the third period of a tight game. Haley, he just can't, like, it's, and again, I'm really not trying to beat that more shit on him. He's limited, and he's limited. He's better than Mike Brown, but yeah, that's kind of my bone to pick there. Is like, I think especially Ward, like Ward should not be scratched for him anymore unless he regresses back to where he was. So I think, yeah, we pretty well covered it. We're not going to go around the NHL because I think y'all, if you want to know the scores, go to ESPN.com, NHL.com, or any of those lovely sites. They're great.
Couple quick points. Remember, kids, this Saturday against the Detroit Red Wings, that is the Seals night where they're going to be giving away the Seals shirt and 50 years of hockey in the Bay Area, which I do think is very cool. Hey, speaking of cool shirts, how'd you like to have one of these? That's right. Kind of a cool shirt. Eric should have the link. I think he was held up a little bit this week, but hopefully there should be something on pucknology.net if you want to own one of these crispy tees. That should be available to you before the end of the week, and that would be a great thing if everybody wore one of these, because fuck buttons, right? But if everybody wore one of these for the game on January 21st against Colorado at the Tank, which is social media night. So be there, be square, and if you're going to be square, wear a nice boxy shirt like this.
Yep, that styling, that fresh styles. It's very lit, and all the things that it's very ratchet, like the kids say. I think. The chat. 50 years no cup. Seattle 100 years one cup. Yeah, but you have shitty beer. Whatever. Moving on. Okay, so a few pluggaroos. So, like you said, social media night. I think the details have been announced for that, right? I think.
For the social media?
Yep.
This is a Eric question, but I think for the most part he's figured everything out, and I'm sure there's going to be something on pucknology.net. I think it's probably going to come out about the same time, honestly, as the link for the shirts. So that'll all be coming out soon enough. Let's have something
Matthew York
cool.
asking if the buttons are lit. Yes, they are quite lit. They are extremely ratchet.
Buck buttons. Buck buttons. Let's try to make the January 21st. Let's try to make that a really cool social media night. We want to try to get as many people to come out for that one as we can, because we're trying. I can't divulge a lot, but let's just say if we have a pretty good, a pretty good, decent showing for January 21st, we're talking with the Sharks about doing something really redonkulous next season. But they kind of want to see what we can do with kind of this limited just using social media and our outlets to see what we can draw, how many people we can get out to the tweet up and get people taking photos, hashtagging it at SJ or at SJ, hashtag SJ Sharks, hashtag Pucknology. And just, on January 21st, just whatever you tweet, use both those hashtags, and let's really set off that social media is a big platform that the Sharks can pay attention to, and hopefully we're a big part of that.
Get turned up, get lit, all those good things. Dope buttons, maybe, as Dr. Jackal says in the chat there. I believe you also have a new Pucknologist dropping soon, right?
Yes, we should be recording a new Pucknologist tomorrow evening that should, with any luck, will actually release late tomorrow night or early on Thursday morning. And special guest Ian Reed joining the Pucknologist.
And where can people find that?
You can find that at Pucknologists on the Twitter machine. It's on everything else, of course. Stitcher, Google Play, Tinder, farmersonly.com, yeah, MySpace. Yeah, it's all on there. Probably like John Middlecoff's top #1 bookmark. I mean, it's all over the place. But yeah, just basically at Pucknologist. But the big one is SoundCloud and on pucknology.net. But in fact, tomorrow, though, should be a real fun one. First one back for the new year, covering 5 games, around the horn, 3 stars, and Ian Reed. I mean, who doesn't want the angry Canadian, right?
What more could you ask for? So yeah, just go to SoundCloud or any of those other things, search Pucknology. It should come up under Pucknology Podcast. You can get this lovely thing as well. If you want to listen to it on audio only, I know you just listened here, so hey, you can also listen to audio only. You can get the Pucknologist. You can get hockey or Ian's Hockey Writers Room, where they cover more NHL topics. It's on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, and at pretty much anything you can listen to stuff on. With that, I think we're about done here. So just a reminder, we are here every single game. So if you're new here, subscribe below. I think you'll like it. Hang around. We are also brought to you by Audible. You can get a free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/PAD. You get a free audiobook that's yours to keep, whether you continue using the service or not. I went Eric there and kind of stumbled all over myself. That is audibletrial.com/PAD. Hey, Sharks didn't win tonight, but you can win by getting a free audiobook. Good for you.
Nice.
Oh, good for you.
Well done.
And with that, I'm at Chris JWS. You can see my little thing right here. You can follow me on Twitter. You can yell at me, tell me I'm awesome, tell me I suck, whatever you want to say. You can follow him at AJ_strong. I have no respect for that underscore. It can go fuck itself. You can also follow at Pucknology on Twitter. Check all our stuff out here. And like I said, subscribe below. Everyone have a good night. Go Sharks. And hopefully we get a win next time.